Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Bighton in Hampshire. It's about 8 or 9 miles to the east of Winchester and about 3 miles northeast of near Alresford. And we're going to be doing a roughly 4.5 mile circular route to the north, starting with a look round the village, then heading through some peaceful woodland, some open farmland and an attractive long bridleway that'll be giving us some beautiful unspoilt countryside views. Well, I'm filming at the end of April and it's another glorious spring morning. The sun is out, very few clouds in the sky, bit of a wind, and I'm hopeful that it's going to not affect the audio too much today, but still should be perfect conditions for walking, so do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car in the centre of the village and we'll start off with a little wander through Bighton itself. And what better place to start than the church, which is just behind me here. It's the Church of All Saints, and the oldest part of the present structure goes back to 1190, but there was a church on the site earlier than that mentioned in the Domesday Book. And it consists of a nave, chancel, north and south chapels and aisles, a northeast vestry, a south porch and a tower. I think there's one bell there, but space for 3. Indeed, the only access to the tower is by a ladder from the outside to a small door on the north side. Originally it would have been just a single cell chancel and nave in the 12th century, with the north and south aisles and chapels added later, along with the tower, which was restored in 1950. The vestry was added in the 19th century, but the church has been repaired and altered quite a bit over the centuries. Let's have a look inside. Okay, in we go. Now, I have found some lights, but it still is pretty dark in here. And there on the left is a rather magnificent font carved out of solid Purbeck marble and dates from either the 12th or 13th century. The organ over there, which I believe is at least 200 years old. I love the sort of wooden panels on the ceiling there. Just panning around. Wow. A terrific stained glass window above the altar there, just catching the morning sun, and then just looking up again. Some more terrific, I think it is wood panelling, but almost like a rood up there. Beautiful coat of arms at the top there. What a pretty church. Of course, it's still a few flowers about. It was Easter Sunday last weekend. Well, right next door to the church is a rather splendid Bighton Manor, which has origins back to 1675. And was remodelled around about 1950. Well, starting to make our way eastwards through the village. The sort of earliest recorded spelling of Bighton goes back to a Saxon charter dated 959 AD. It was named after local Saxon chief Bicker, or Bicker, B-I-C-C-A. Now, from Saxon times to around about the 18th century, the main road from Westminster to Winchester passed through the village. But in 1753, a Turnpike Act was passed and the main road was diverted to the south through Bishop Sutton. Well, just looking at a very old map of the area on the corner here, I think there was an old smithy located roughly here. And then just round the corner I see there's a building, the old post office. Well, this is on the southern side of the village, and this is the Bighton farm. In fact, there's quite a large estate Current owners, according to their website, have been here since the 1950s. I think there are 2 dairies, beef, sheep and an arable farm. And so again, looking at an old map, there used to be a pond on the corner here, now grassed over, although I do see there's a, let's say, a groundwater borehole here. And just panning round to the left, look at this display of oilseed rape. We've done quite a few walks this spring, and there seems to be rape everywhere. And what a glorious colour in the morning sunshine. And just on the corner here in the field there's a little oak tree that was planted 10 years ago to commemorate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Looks as though it's got a bit of growing to do. The Three Horseshoes pub. There's been a pub here since 1612, and it was on the old pre-1753 London to Winchester Road. The Three Horseshoes was always an indication that a blacksmith or farrier was situated not too far away. I think the heraldic symbol of the worshipful company of farriers has got 3 horseshoes as well. It's always 3 because, of course, a horse stands on 3 when being shod. An ale was brewed on the site from malt produced at a malt house, presumably in a malt house lane to the west. It was reopened in September 2020 after being closed for 3.5 years, and it was known as the English Partridge for a while, but certainly an 1897 map shows it as 3 Horseshoes. Anyway, I believe it's dog friendly, so that could well be our final destination. Well, that was our little tour of Bighton. So we're now going to start out with our walk into the countryside proper, as it were, by initially heading in a sort of northeasterly direction. Just enjoyed a lovely walk across a couple of fields, following footpaths, I hasten to add. A nice breeze to keep us cool. So now we're going to start heading a sort of northerly direction towards Bighton House, or whether we'll see it or not, I'm not too sure. Oh, I've just come up this gorgeous avenue with trees either side. A display of daffodils there, still out. More oilseed rape. I don't think we're going to see Bighton House. I can just see the very top of the roof from here. It originates from about the 1820s and the remainder built in 1844. But what we can see here is wonderful. Beehive Cottage. Beautiful. And look, I don't know if you can see on the top the what was that, a couple of pheasants thatched. Quite exquisite. Another splendid display of bluebells. Seen so many of these on walks recently. It's been such a great spring for them, and these really are looking quite exquisite, especially in the sunshine. I've just found a nice little open area. Time for some Whippet zoomies. Well, this really is a beautiful part of the walk. So this is the wood that I've just come through. Again, bluebells everywhere. And we're just walking along the side of a field. And if I turn to the left, more oilseed rape. And of course, a day like today, glorious sunshine with blue sky. Absolutely stunning. And I love the way the trees are popping up on the horizon over there as well. Well, we're continuing to head a sort of northerly direction. I think the field here on the right, from memory I seem to recall reading that there might have been a Roman villa here at one stage, but obviously no remains of it now. A little pit stop to admire the view. This is about as far north as we're going to go, and well, you can probably see behind me, looking north, some quite stunning views. So we're now going to start heading on a southwesterly direction, following what looks like a farm track. We're now just passing Upper Lanham Farm, and the track that we're on is part of the Oxdrove Way. It's a sort of 25-mile long distance path. I think it's a sort of figure of 8 circuit, and it basically follows the old ancient droving routes. I think the waymark sign is blue with an ox on it. Well, we're now going to say goodbye to the Oxdrove Way. Really enjoyed walking along there. We were going downhill in the shade, and you really felt as though you were on an ancient track. In places it was quite sunken. So we're now going to start heading south on the homeward journey back to the village. Going to follow a little lane called Nettlebeds Lane, and I'm at a little crossroads just behind me here, Nettlebeds Farm. And I think they've got a business called Nettlebeds Farm Kitchen, and looking at their website, they deliver home cooked food all over the UK. Well, I'll tell you, walking along Nettlebeds Lane, it might not sound very nice, but the name doesn't do it justice. It really is your quintessential Hampshire countryside lane with, well, everywhere I look, the views are really quite stunning. It really is I keep going on about the weather today, but it really is a terrific spring day with the sun out, and the fields, the crops in the fields, that lush green look to them. Such a beautiful part of the countryside. Well folks, we're back at the Three Horseshoes pub in Bighton for a well-earned pint. We hope you enjoyed the walk. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today, such a pretty area, and the weather has been glorious once again. So until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Right, sweetie time. There we go. And Daddy's going to have his pint. A pint of otter. Oh yes. Well, just before we finish the video, I thought I'd give you an update on some of my equipment that I carry, and particular, a few people have asked me, what do I keep in my bag? So I'll try and keep this as briefly as possible, and I say I am no expert when it comes to photography. As far as my normal camera for stills are concerned, I still use the Canon PowerShot. What is this? SX530HS, and it's useful also for zoom photographs. I used to always keep it in my bag, but it was always falling out, so these days I just keep it attached to me on my belt so I can get to it quickly. It's useful if I come across, say, some wildlife and I want to take a picture very, very quickly. As far as the main camera is concerned, it's the GoPro 10, which I upgraded last year from a GoPro 7, and I've been quite happy with it. The image stabilization is really good. Like all GoPros, it's not particularly good in low light, and particularly inside churches, but I've been very happy. A couple of little tips though, if you're considering buying one. You're going to need an external microphone. You might be persuaded to buy the GoPro Media Mod. I would suggest instead that you use or buy a vlogging case instead, for the simple reason it's a lot easier to get at the battery with a vlogging case. You literally flick open a door and you can get it out, whereas if you're using the Media Mod, you've actually got to take the Media Mod off the handle that you've got the GoPro on, and it's just hassle. And I would say, I don't know, 80% of the time I usually have to switch and put a new battery in to finish off the last 20% of a film. The other thing I'd say about the GoPro 10, like so many of these things, they try and make them more complicated than they need to be. It looks like they've got a special film on the actual screen which is supposed to reflect water, which is great, but I find that it makes it a lot harder with sun glare. Now you can, which I use from time to time, use a hood. In fact, I use this one here, but the problem with that is that you can't use it for a wide screen. You can only use it for linear plus, and even then sometimes the hood, you can sometimes see the edge of it, so you've got to keep the picture dead steady. As well as the camera, obviously I have, which you can't see at the moment, I'll take a photograph of, is the tripod. And the one I use now, it is a compromise. Ideally, you want a really solid tripod, but you don't want a heavy one to take on a walk. Similarly, you don't want a really lightweight one because they're just too flimsy. So the one I've got now, I'm happy with, and it does fold up nicely and fits in the bag. And I'd say, you know, during the course of a normal walk, I could easily use the tripod 8, 10, 12 times. So you want it to be easy to put up and put down and easy to fold away. So what do I keep in the bag? Well, I haven't done any preparation for this, so I'll just see what we've got. Logan's water bowl, water, Logan's ball. Yeah, I do carry a spare GoPro, which is the GoPro 7. Very rarely use it because, well, to be honest, if something goes wrong with the GoPro 10, unless it happens early on in the walk, if something goes wrong with it, you've lost that footage anyway. So I think I've only had one situation where that's happened. Halfway through a walk, there was a problem with the card. So I finished off the second half of the walk and did the first half again. So So that would only be of any use if, as I said, the GoPro 10 broke down very early on in the walk. I could use the GoPro 7 and just do the first bit again. Microphones. Now I use two types of microphone. The one I've got on at the moment is a wireless one, which is pretty good, unless it's very, very windy, in which case I'll use the shotgun microphone, which goes on top of the camera. This is fantastic during windy conditions, it really is. The downside of this, of course, is that you've got to be fairly near the camera, otherwise you've got to shout. So I kind of use a combination of those. The other thing to remember about these is that they only last, or the battery is only about 5 hours. And you know, some of my 6-7 mile walks I can be filming for 7 hours, and once it did run out. I also carry a spare shotgun microphone. If I am going to use the shotgun microphone for a walk, for it's very windy, I'll also use a second shotgun on a long cable for the introduction and end scenes where I'm going to have to be a fair distance away from the camera, and it just saves the hassle of having to take the original shotgun microphone off the camera. It's easy just to have a spare. Also I've got a little what do you call those, gorilla pod. I suppose if I need to put the camera on top of or attach it to a branch or a fence, I could put it on there and it fits around the fence. I don't use it that often, to be honest. All right, what else have we got in the sides? Bits and pieces here. Oh yeah, spare discs, or cards. I've had to use a spare once. Usually I can get it all on the one card. A lighting system. There's also hopefully in here, if I can find it, must be somewhere. Oh, there's an attachment basically that goes onto the camera. On very dull days I'll use this on the camera just to light up my face. To be honest, as I mentioned at the beginning, GoPros are rubbish in low light, so the key, or the thing is just not to go out when it's dark. But it's useful if I'm in a wood, for example, and I just want to sort of light up something. I've got that. What else have we got? A little mirror, not because I'm vain, but it's sometimes useful just to check that I've got nothing nasty attached to me at any one time. Right, what have we got in the sides, Logan? Yeah, very important, a tick remover. Logan, he'll pick up the odd tick from time to time. The great thing about a Whippet, of course, they've got short coats, so they're easy to spot. I'm not a problem because I never wear shorts. And I have a very, very basic first aid kit. It's the sort of thing really enough to sort of keep you going until you get back to the car, where I've got a proper first aid kit. So there's some saline solution, a plaster, a few bits of tape and gauze. So little bits there. Loads of poo bags. I think that's about it. And the reason why I have a satchel, again, it's just ease. When I first started, I tended to put things in a backpack, but that means you've got to take the backpack off if you need to get at it, whereas the satchel, you can grab things as you go along. So hopefully I haven't bored you too much. Obviously Logan's not that impressed. I thought it might be useful for folk that are interested in cameras anyway.